Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, November 16th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and we begin tonight with a wrongful death lawsuit involving a young man who died while in a group home in Escondido. As KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado tells us, there are also threats of lawsuits if that home is not shut down.
My son had just turned 18, and he had a long life ahead of him. Big, beautiful heart. He loved music, typical 18-year-old, athletic. He could make you laugh in 0.3 seconds.
Amanda Shane smiled as she remembered her son, Isaiah Shane. He died in May of a drug overdose in a short-term group home in Escondido called Circle of Friends, where he was supposed to be getting treatment. Isaiah was taken there after being placed in foster care because of addiction and behavioral issues.
But once my son went into the county's custody, he was not receiving those services. Why not? I don't understand why.
Now, the family has filed a $1 million claim against San Diego County for wrongful death, saying they failed to provide basic care and a safe, supervised environment. Shane Harris, the president of the People's Association of Justice Advocates, says the home has a history of complaints that include sexual abuse.
You're telling me now, with all of the complaints and the police chief and all of this involvement from law enforcement, and the DA even took a case and charged someone who was a former employee for having inappropriate relations with a child? You're telling me that it's that hard for the county to muster up some courage and actually close the group home down?
Harris says that in addition to the monetary claim, the county, state, and board of the home must do the right thing and shut it down, or they will face lawsuits of their own.
We are not going to stop until we get the end of this group home closed. They need to close it down now. It is demonstrated that they don't have the leadership to take care of these kids.
Isaiah's mom says she wants her son to be remembered, not by the way he died, but for creating change that protects kids like him.
That's going to be a beautiful legacy to be remembered by. When these changes have taken place and all the lawmakers do what they're supposed to, that's how my son will be remembered.
We reached out to Circle of Friends and the county. We have not heard back from the home, and the county says they cannot comment on pending litigation. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
The California Department of Education is scrambling tonight to meet a court order protecting a number of students with special needs. The students are considered medically fragile and unable to return to in-class learning that could expose them to COVID-19. A San Diego student and his family are among the plaintiffs in an alleged case of disability discrimination. KPBS education reporter MG Perez explains.
16-year-old Ethan Russell is a high school sophomore, an avid video game player, a Special Olympics champion, and a musician. He's also living with the extremely rare floating harbor syndrome, a diagnosis that causes him to be medically fragile.
Ethan's had 23 surgeries, 5 heart surgeries, a heart attack. He has cerebral palsy. He's got a lot going on.
Heather Russell is Ethan's mother and strongest advocate. His father, Sean, and younger sister, Talia, are his devoted supporters, too. The Russells are among 15 California families suing the State Department of Education for discrimination by denying Ethan and the other children at-home learning with their full special education support services.
Every parent wants their child to be healthy and happy and have an education. And so he also deserves what every other child is receiving right now.
In July, the state legislature passed AB 130, which became the new law to prioritize in-person learning for all students, including those with special needs. That left students who are medically fragile without a viable distance learning option and support. Ethan has been stuck at home with no support, like he used to have his freshman year through Zoom classes. Ethan is a student here at Patrick Henry High School, but he's never actually attended any in-person classes. San Diego Unified School District is not part of the lawsuit, and it is the district's policy to never comment on pending legal action. The families aren't suing school districts, they're suing the state education department because AB 130 is a state law. The department released a statement that says, in part, the CDE is continuing to work overtime on this issue and to ensure that all students receive the education they deserve. As we have stated before, vulnerable students have been acutely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and working to mitigate those impacts has been a top concern of California's education community since the virus was first detected in our state.
It discriminates on the basis of disability. So what we would like is equal access to safe virtual instruction.
Robert Borelli represents the families in this case who were granted a temporary restraining order requiring immediate virtual instruction. That's in process for Ethan and the others. A judge will review the case December 2nd, and the decision could impact children who are medically fragile with special needs across California. That could add the title of hero to this young man's list of accomplishments.
Hi.
MG Perez, KPBS News.
If you're planning on traveling this Thanksgiving holiday, you'll have plenty of company. And KPBS reporter John Carroll says if you're going to drive, bring your gas money.
It's a big sign a lot of us in Southern California are putting the pandemic in the rearview mirror. New numbers from AAA show people are ready to travel again. Big time. Nearly 4 million Southern Californians are going to get behind the wheel and travel at least 50 miles from home. That's up 9% from last year and only down 1% from 2019. Nearly 500,000 of us will get on an airplane to travel, up 82% from 2020, down 4% from 2019. Other forms of transportation like rail and bus, about 80,000, up a whopping 262% from last year, but still down a considerable 36% from before the pandemic. Put it all together, and about 4.5 million of us are traveling somewhere for the upcoming holiday. If you're getting behind the wheel, get out the wallet. You don't have to be a numbers person to find these digits terrifying.
I think it's horrible. I think the high gas prices are a pain, and I don't like them.
Victoria Flores drove down from the San Joaquin Valley, not exactly in what you'd call an economy car.
We have to wind up searching on our app to find cheaper gas prices because it affects us so much. I mean, it takes at least, I like to say the $50 mark is a new $20 in gas right now.
All right.
We didn't expect anyone we spoke with today to like these prices, but when we asked one customer what he thought about them, he did have a somewhat surprising answer.
I think there's a good reason to have the expensive prices, that we all stop using our cars as much as we do.
The average price for regular in San Diego is $4.64, and that's up about 10 cents from a week ago, so things are still climbing.
The AAA's Jeff Springs says there are a number of reasons for the painful prices. Demand is high, some Southern California refineries are undergoing maintenance, and OPEC is tightly controlling supply. But there is some good news. He says we probably won't break our record high of $4.73 a gallon on October 8th, 2012, and
once the refineries get through these issues that they've had for the last couple of weeks, I think we'll see prices either plateau or start coming down.
Springs says there is an upside. The Auto Club says San Diego is the #1 destination for Southern California travelers. Hopefully they'll have some money left to spend once they get here. John Carroll, KPBS News.
The largest hunger relief organization in San Diego County got a 4-ton donation just in time for the upcoming holiday. KPBS reporter Melissa May was there for the delivery.
The Jacobson Cushman San Diego Food Bank recently paid about $200,000 for turkeys. That's double the price for the same amount of turkeys they received last year. In addition, today they received a turkey donation from Foster Farms, who has partnered with the food bank since 2008.
They have generously and timely donated over 8,000 pounds of turkeys. That's 4 tons, and that'll help us serve over 10,000 people during the holiday season.
Casey Castillo is the interim CEO for the San Diego Food Bank and says this donation will help to serve the over 500 nonprofit charities who depend on their services.
Families across the country are experiencing hardship with the rise in fuel costs, with inflation, and now the increase in food costs. And so those families that were already experiencing food insecurity are now having an even more difficult time.
Turkeys will start being distributed early next week for the holiday, as the need for food continues to rise.
We're currently serving 550,000, and we think that number is going to go up during the holidays and into 2022.
Alan Jin is an economics professor at the University of San Diego, and during his interview with KPBS's Midday Edition, he discussed how much the cost of food has gone up.
Food at home is up nationally over 5%. If you look at the individual components of that index, in particular, what I would call the proteins have been up considerably. So in the category meat, poultry, fish, and eggs, that's up almost 12% year over year.
The United States is currently experiencing the highest inflation rate in 30 years, a 6.2% increase in the Consumer Price Index. Supply prices may increase even more in San Diego County.
We're kind of a cul-de-sac, so we're at the end of the line as far as the supply chain is concerned, and if there are disruptions in the supply chain, that could affect us here.
For those who want to help the food bank by volunteering, donating money and goods, or even host a food drive, can go to sandiegofoodbank.org. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Not all communities are created equal, at least when it comes to parks and recreational centers, at least according to a city audit. KPBS Speak City Heights reporter Jacob Ayer looks at what those disparities mean for people living in different parts of the city.
Henry Basin has coached free tennis lessons at Colina del Sol Recreation Center in City Heights since the 2000s. He's noticed a decline in the upkeep of the space.
I do more maintenance around here over the years than actually the area manager. Sometimes he comes and requests me if there's a net that needs to be put up and they don't have the staff to do it. I put the nets up. I clean the course after every class.
A new city audit finds recreation centers in San Diego's northern neighborhoods get more funding, host more activities, and attract more participants than rec centers in the southern part of the city. It says the city's Parks and Recreation Department contributes to that inequity problem by poorly handling low-income fee waivers and by not publishing promotional materials often enough in languages other than English. City Auditor Andy Hanau says the largest disparities are coming from contracted programs, which program participants pay for out of pocket. He says those programs are almost exclusively in the northern part of the city and suggests to expand them south. He also says the city should consider extending fee waivers and reductions. That survey also found most of the 27 city parks in poor condition are in low-income or middle-income areas, not wealthy parts of the city. Baston says the differences in rec centers are very visible for his tennis students when they travel to play in tournaments, whether it's the nearby noise or maintenance of the courts.
I explained to them that pay attention to where you are, where you come from, right? Your facility. And then when you go to a facility outside of your facility, compare the situation, how they look compared to how your facility looks.
The performance audit of equity and recreation programming report will be presented at the City of San Diego's Audit Committee on Wednesday morning. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
A unanimous passing vote today to protect our waters and coasts from offshore drilling. The San Diego County Board of Supervisors has approved support for Congressman Mike Levin's American Coasts and Oceans Protection Act. Chair Nathan Fletcher says our beaches and bays are central to who we are as a community.
But the devastation caused by oil spills, particularly the Amplify oil spill, shows us how perilous it can be. It shows us the danger to our beaches and bays, and it shows us, plain and simple, that we need to stop offshore drilling.
After the spill in October of tens of thousands of gallons of oil from an offshore pipeline, San Diegans have been finding balls of tar along the beaches. Supervisors highlighted the impact of oil spills have on the economy, especially considering 140,000 jobs are linked to tourism that relies on the ocean. San Diego County supervisors get a glimpse of the region's more climate-friendly future tomorrow. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has more about the effort to reduce planet-warming carbon emissions.
San Diego County is on the verge of dramatically changing the region's future. The county government is developing a blueprint to make the region carbon neutral by 2045.
This is reimagining our energy system and our transportation system and how we think about changing land use at a pretty fundamental level and doing it very, very quickly.
Decarbonization means only emitting as much carbon as the county can reabsorb. McCord says the county needs to do that on a regional level. The draft framework will identify how to reach the climate-friendly goal while preserving the region's economy and jobs.
It's hard, and so it's understandable that for local governments to be thinking at scale, to be thinking as a system, to be able to connect all these dots, that it doesn't happen naturally.
The draft document, developed over the course of the year, relies on science-based data to define the county's current carbon footprint. It also includes an assessment of what individual municipalities have pledged to do at the local level.
Let us not think too much about just what is our authority and what we have to do, but take collective responsibility for all the emissions in the region.
The decarbonization plan allows residents, businesses, and governments to plan together.
For our region, we would have a comprehensive and strategic plan for where the efforts need to be made in terms of both policy actions to be taken as well as administratively what we can do as municipalities.
The draft framework still needs public input. The document should be finalized early next year. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
The Pacific Northwest has gotten more rain in the last 2 weeks than they normally see the entire month of November. And as Britt Conway reports, more extreme weather is expected to pummel the state of Washington.
Streets turn to rivers. Boats where cars should be. Homes filled with muddy water. This is what's happening in northwestern Washington right now after two almost back-to-back atmospheric rivers. The name says it all. These systems are like rivers in the sky that carry massive amounts of water vapor. When powerful ones hit land, that means massive amounts of rain or snow. In this case, rain started hammering the area Friday, pushing many rivers above flood stage and still rising.
It's bad. It's pretty deep. It's fast. It's dirty. It's cold.
Hundreds have been displaced in Whatcom County.
There was nothing in our house in less than 30 minutes. It was up to our knees or ankles.
One of the key interstates in the area was partially shut down overnight because of flooding and active mudslides. And more severe weather is expected through Wednesday night, with the possibility of another storm system at the end of the week. Extreme rainfall, river flooding, and damaging winds are all on the table. Evacuation advisories are in place in some areas. More than 4.5 million people in the Northwest are under flood alerts, and 14 Washington counties were put under a state of emergency Monday night.
They're in a bad way out there. There's a lot of water, and it's only getting higher.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
We have some cool days to deal with ahead. Temperatures today much cooler than where we have been over the last couple of days. We have that onshore flow return, and that's going to mean a lot of clouds for some of our coastal areas over the next several days. So temperatures as we head into tonight getting down to 51 for you in Oceanside, 54 in Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna getting down into the upper 40s. Wednesday, the story is again that coastal cloud cover is going to linger, but we'll still hold on to the warmth in some of the interior sections of southern parts of California. Futurecast showing hour by hour through the day tomorrow. Look at this cloud cover here that just kind of lingers right along the coast all the way through Wednesday evening into Thursday. So don't expect much in the way of sunshine out there for places like San Diego on your Wednesday. Temperatures as a result only in the upper 60s there, 74 out towards Ramona, a little bit warmer and more clearer in the interior sections here, 83 for you out towards Borrego Springs. And then Thursday, we start to feel the impacts of the next storm system moving into the northwest. That brings some showers into northern parts of California, but we don't get in on any of that rain across southern parts of California. We'll continue the sunshine and cooler days ahead. So near the coast, temperatures generally sitting in the mid-60s for you through Saturday. Perhaps a little bit of a bump there towards the end of the weekend, getting up into the low 70s. Further inland, temps go from the low 70s into the upper 60s for you Friday and Saturday. And then we also see a little bit of a bump there for the end of the weekend, getting back up into the upper 70s with some high clouds there for you on your Sunday. In the mountains, temperatures not seeing a whole lot of change here, mid to upper 50s over the next 5 days. A mix of sunshine and clouds, perhaps a little bit more in the way of cloud cover Thursday, but overall not much to complain about in the mountains. And in the deserts, temperatures here too, low 80s for you through Friday, a dip down into the upper 70s Saturday, and then a bump back into the low 80s by Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
A glass of wine might be a nice distraction from the stress of the pandemic, but now it's a reminder of it. Supply chain issues are causing a glass shortage, and as Cornell Bernard reports, winemakers in Napa Valley are struggling to buy bottles.
It's really hard to find a glass right now.
Juan Alfaro spent all day trying to find something which used to be plentiful in the Napa Valley. Glass bottles. He needs them for his winery and his brother's olive oil company. Luckily, he just scored 10 cases of small bottles at this supply store.
You cleaned them out? Yes, I did. So yeah, we got lucky, and this is what they have, and that's what I'm taking.
Oh my goodness, bottles are a darn issue this year.
Napa Fermentation Supplies Manager Ben Janes has never seen anything like it. Glass bottles becoming almost impossible to find due to COVID-19 related supply chain issues. Shipments of traditional 750 milliliter wine bottles, mostly manufactured in China, now delayed for months.
We have had an increase in phone calls from commercial wineries who normally don't buy bottles from us, needing to buy bottles from us because, well, they can't get bottles anywhere else.
New bottle inventory is sold before it even arrives.
And so I have a stack of people that want glass when I get it in.
It's been a challenge to obtain this glass.
At Visa Tui Winery in St. Helena, production on a new brandy line has been halted because the bottles are lost in transit.
We were told and it'll be here in August, then it'll be here in September, October, and here we are in November. Now they're saying January.
There's 2021 Chardonnay fermenting in these oak barrels. All this wine needs to be bottled by May. Trouble is, the bottles may not arrive until June or July.
So you just have to be flexible. You do the best you can.
But wineries have seasonal schedules and need to make room for the next harvest. Most will pivot like they did with wildfires and COVID. But it could be a very long wait for those bottles to arrive.
And I've heard it could be a couple years before the supply chain issue gets fixed.
Home prices expected to end the year on a high note. New data showing a double-digit rise in the median home price, and there's no relief in sight. Jen Sullivan has a closer look at where prices stand and why the housing crisis could get worse.
A red-hot housing market. New data showing demand for homes is pushing prices even higher.
Right now, there's obviously a huge supply problem in real estate. There's just not enough houses for enough people.
According to the National Association of Realtors, the median home price is up 16% from a year ago, and prices rose in 99% of the 183 U.S. markets it tracks, with homes selling for a record 100% of asking price and 35% of homes selling above asking price.
In order to get us out of this housing crisis we have where prices keep going up, we actually have to build more homes, and 1 year is not enough time for us to see that happen. I don't think we're going to see any reduction in prices in the next year.
And homes are selling at a record pace, with about half of them going under contract within a week of hitting the market. continued strong demand, and a historically low inventory at a time when mortgage interest rates are expected to rise, all pushing prices higher. Despite all that, broker Christian Backelder says he's seeing a rise in home loan applications.
There's an influx of money in the industry right now, and real estate is where a lot of people are going to hedge against inflation.
With so much competition for existing homes on the market, some first-time home buyers are giving up and renting instead. And experts say that's driving up rental rates in many markets.
Rather than waiting to see if home prices come down, you need to be thinking about how much faster are they going to go up if I wait.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
It's back. After nearly 2 years with the lights off, Broadway San Diego opens tonight. The Tony Award-winning musical comedy Hairspray will open the 44th season for Broadway San Diego. The touring production runs through this Sunday. As with many events during this time, masks are required of all guests, as well as proof of full vaccination and a photo ID. Proof of negative tests within 72 hours of showtime are also acceptable. New York City is ready to ring in 2022 with its traditional New Year's Eve ball drop. Thousands of people can once again attend the event at the city's iconic Times Square after last year's virtual celebration because of the pandemic. But Mayor Bill de Blasio says there are some restrictions.
We want to welcome all those hundreds of thousands of folks, but everyone needs to be vaccinated. All you need to do is have that proof of vaccination and a valid photo ID, and you are in. Join the crowd, join the joy, join a historic moment as New York City provides further evidence to the world that we are 100% back.
All spectators aged 5 and older will be asked to show proof of full vaccination. Officials say those who can't be vaccinated must wear a mask and show proof of a negative COVID-19 test. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.